Imagine walking into a room, sitting down at your desk, and suddenly realizing you forgot to do your English homework.
Oh no, that is the worst feeling.
Right. The teacher is just staring right at you. The whole class is looking at you, and the room is just, well, completely silent.
Yeah, that terrifying heavy silence. I mean, I think almost every language learner knows that exact feeling.
It makes your hands sweat. But, imagine chasing that exact same terrifying silence on purpose
Huh.
every single night in front of thousands of people.
Wow. Wait, you mean like a stand-up comedian?
Exactly. Stand-up comedians do exactly that. They step onto a stage, they tell a joke, and they risk facing complete awkward silence. But today, we are going to look at how their worst fear is actually your secret weapon for learning.
That's a really fascinating way to look at it because, we usually think of language learning as this very stressful thing with strict rules and tests, and you were just terrified of making a mistake.
Yeah, sitting at a desk memorizing long lists of words, it is not very fun.
Right, it feels really rigid. But comedy is built on surprise and emotion and connection. And looking at how comedians work might just be like the most effective way for you to master a new language.
So welcome to this special, easy-to-follow deep dive. We are so happy to have you with us today. Whether you are on the bus or just relaxing at home, we have a really fun topic for you.
We do. Today, we are looking at a dialogue from a popular English learning program called Special English Corner.
Yep. And our mission today is to talk about the huge return of stand-up comedy in China. We want to explore why these shows are suddenly everywhere, how the industry is changing, and, surprisingly, how watching these funny shows can help you learn English.
Because, learning a language can feel like a scary test. But today, we want to show you how laughter is probably the best study tool you have.
Let's jump right in. But
Yeah.
before we talk about why comedy helps you learn, we need to look at what is actually happening on our TV screens and phones right now.
Right. Because there is a massive wave of comedy happening. But, it did not happen all at once. The Chinese comedy industry actually went through this period that the source calls a quiet time.
A quiet time, so like a break.
Yeah, exactly. For about a year, things just kind of stopped. You did not see those huge comedy shows on the internet. Everyone just sort of went quiet.
Which is strange, right? Because usually an industry just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
It is strange, but that quiet time is actually really important. Because when the show stopped, the audience still wanted to laugh. Life is still stressful, but they did not have anyone making jokes about it.
Oh, I see. So they were getting really hungry for it.
Exactly. So when the quiet time ended, like in late 2024 and 2025, the comedy did not just come back slowly. It exploded.
It was a tidal wave. Suddenly, the biggest video platforms, giants like Tencent and IQIYI, they started releasing these huge new comedy shows.
And everyone is talking about them. They're not just small shows anymore. People talk about them at work. They send short video clips to their friends all day.
Yeah, my phone is full of those clips, but what I find really interesting is that the style of these shows has completely changed. Like, they learned something during that quiet time.
They definitely did. Let's look at one of the new shows our source mentions. It is a Tencent show called Main Guest and Their Friends.
Okay, so how is that one different?
Well, in the past, comedy shows were usually very stressful competitions. Like a battle, people got eliminated, judges were mean. It was all very high pressure.
Yeah, it felt like a survival show, very tense.
Right. But Main Guest and Their Friends removes all of that stress. Instead of a competition, a famous comedian just invites their actual real-life friends to come on stage with them.
Oh, that sounds nice. So it feels more like a party on stage.
Yes, a party on stage. It has a very positive, relaxed vibe. The producers realize that people do not want to watch more stress on TV when their real lives are already so stressful.
That makes total sense. But wait, I have a question about this party. The source material talks about how these friends roast each other.
Ah, yes. The roast.
Like, when I hear the English word roast, I just think of cooking. Like a roast chicken.
Huh, yeah. No, they're not cooking each other. In comedy, a roast means telling jokes about someone, usually pointing out their bad habits or making fun of them.
But wait, if this show is supposed to be positive and relaxed, isn't making fun of people kind of mean, like public bullying?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the relationship. If a stranger says something mean to you, it is an attack. It
Yeah.
feels terrible. But a true roast only works between very close friends.
Oh, because you already know they love you.
Exactly. The friendship makes it safe. The comedian is basically saying, I know you so well, I know all your silly habits, and I love you anyway.
The source gives a really funny example of this. It says, imagine looking at your best friend and saying, your coffee today smells like old socks.
Yes. Old socks. Now, if you said that to your boss, you might get fired.
Right. They would be so angry.
But if you say it to your best friend, they just laugh because they know you were joking. It shows how close you are.
That is such a good lesson for learning English, too. You cannot just look up words in a dictionary. You have to understand the situation. If you do not know they are friends, you might think they're having a real fight.
Exactly. It is all about the context.
So, okay, we have this format where friends are roasting each other, having a party on stage. Why do people need this so much right now? Why is it exploding?
Well, it comes back to what we said earlier. Modern life is just full of stress.
It really is. People are working so hard.
Right. People are tired. They have long commutes on the subway. They worry about their jobs. They carry all these heavy worries every single day. Watching these comedy shows is like opening a pressure valve. It lets the stress out.
The source introduces a Chinese word for this feeling, gongming, which in English we usually call relatability.
Relatability is a very important word.
So how do comedians create this relatability? They do not just stand there and say, oh, I'm so tired, because that is not a joke. That is just complaining.
Right. Nobody wants to pay to hear someone just complain. The best comedians take a bad day and find the funny side of it. They talk about everyday struggles that we all share.
Like what? What kind of struggles?
Well, the source mentions things like dealing with an annoying boss, or parents asking you why you are not married yet, or checking your bank account and realizing you have no money left.
Yes. The money one is so real. When you are sitting alone worrying about money, you feel sad. You feel like you are the only one having a hard time.
But then you watch a comedian on stage under the bright lights and they say, hey, I have no money either. And they tell a funny story about it.
And suddenly you think, hey, that is just like me. You realize you are not alone. We are all in this together.
Exactly. That shared feeling is the true secret to the industry's success right now. Laughing together makes the problem feel a little bit smaller.
Because people love this relatability so much, stand-up comedy has really grown up. It is not just a small hobby anymore, right?
Not at all. It is a massive professional industry now. The source says there are comedy clubs in almost every big city now. Beijing, Shanghai, Chengdu. It is a real job.
A real job. Young people actually dream of becoming a talk show star now.
You do. It looks like a very fun, glamorous life.
But wait, let me push back on that. Is it really fun? I mean, standing on stage hoping people laugh sounds absolutely terrifying to me.
Oh, you are completely right. It is a very tough job. Behind the scenes, it is not glamorous at all. You had to write new jokes every single day.
Every day. Wow.
Yeah, because once a joke is on the internet, everyone has heard it. You cannot use it again. You have to start over. And sometimes you write a joke you think is funny, you tell it on stage.
And nobody laughs.
Complete silence.
Ah, there is that scary silence again. Just like forgetting your homework in English class.
Exactly the same feeling. But facing that silence makes them better. Because the industry is so professional now, the audience expects really high quality. They do not just want cheap jokes. They want jokes that make them think.
And because of that need for high quality, we are seeing some really exciting changes. The source points out a major, very healthy shift. A lot of women are becoming very famous stand-up comedians right now.
Yes, the rise of female voices in comedy is huge. And it is so important they're bringing totally fresh perspectives to the stage.
They talk about things that women care about, the specific pressures they face, or the funny things about their daily lives.
And the amazing thing is, these jokes are universally funny. You do not have to be a woman to laugh at them. Men and women both find them hilarious.
Because a good joke just points out when the rules of society are silly or unfair, and everyone can relate to that.
Exactly. It just proves that funny is funny, no matter who is telling the joke.
Okay, so we know these comedians are amazing professionals, but let's get to the most important question for you, our listener. How does watching these shows actually help you learn English?
Well, the first thing our source tells us is a warning. It says, do not try to directly translate Chinese jokes into English.
Oh, really? Why not?
Because it usually fails. Jokes use a lot of local culture or words that sound similar in Chinese but totally different in English. If you translate it word for word, the English speaker will just look at you totally confused.
More awkward silence. So, if we cannot translate them, what should we do?
You should study the structure of the joke. how it is built. In English, a joke usually has a very simple two-part formula.
Okay, what is the formula?
Number one is the setup, and number two is the punchline.
The setup and the punchline. Let's explain those. The setup is like giving the background, right?
Yes. The setup gives the listener the facts. Where are we? Who was talking? What is happening? It builds a picture in your mind.
And then comes the punchline.
The punchline is the funny twist at the very end. It breaks the expectation you just built.
Let's use the classic example from the source text to show how this works. I will do the setup. Here it is. I told my doctor I feel like a dog.
Okay, let's pause. That is the setup. So right now, the listener is picturing a hospital, a serious doctor in a white coat, a patient saying they feel like a dog. The listener expects the doctor to give medical advice, right?
Right? Maybe give him some medicine. But here comes the punchline. He said, please sit on the sofa and tell me more.
Boom, the twist.
Because dogs sit on the sofa.
Exactly. You expected serious medical advice, but instead the doctor treats the person like an actual dog. It is a surprise, and that's why we laugh.
That is so clever. So by learning this formula, you learn how to tell a story in English. You learn how to organize your words so the surprise comes at the very end.
Right. If you put the word sofa at the beginning of the joke, it ruins the surprise. So it teaches you English sentence structure naturally.
And humor is not just about words, is it? The source mentions body language, too.
Oh, body language is huge. When you watch a comedian, you see how they use their face and their hands. You see how they use timing.
Timing, like taking a pause.
Yes. Sometimes a long pause is much funnier than speaking. They wait, and then they deliver the punchline. For English beginners, this is a great lesson. You do not have to speak super fast. Taking a pause is okay.
That takes so much pressure off. It is okay to pause. And finally, watching comedy is a great way to learn everyday English. The source calls it daily life vocabulary.
Because comedians talk about regular life. Commuting on a subway, buying coffee, going on dates. They do not use stiff, boring textbook words.
Right. A textbook might say, greetings, I wish to purchase a beverage.
Nobody talks like that.
Never. But a comedian will use the real words people use every day, so you learn the English you actually need.
Exactly.
Well, we have covered so much ground today. Let's do a quick recap. We talked about how stand-up comedy in China has completely exploded because it offers stress relief.
Yeah, it gives people that relatability, that gongming.
It has become a really mature industry with amazing, diverse voices, especially female comedians. And we learned that the structure of a joke, the setup and the punchline, is your secret weapon for learning English.
It really is. Which brings us to our final thought for today. The source material gives us a comedy task.
Ooh, a challenge for our listeners. I love this.
The source gives an example of a simple three-sentence story. Listen to this. Sentence 1, I tried to cook an egg. Sentence 2, the egg exploded. Sentence 3, now my ceiling is yellow.
Oh, wow. That is so funny. And it is so simple.
Right. Sentences 1 and 2 are the setup. Sentence 3 is the punchline. So here is your challenge. Think about the most stressful or annoying thing that happened to you this week.
Like missing the bus or spilling your coffee.
Exactly. Instead of being upset about it, can you turn it into a simple three-sentence English story? Build a setup and hit us with a punchline.
I love that. If you can turn your stress into a joke, you are not just practicing your English vocabulary, you are mastering the art of relatability. You are taking a bad day and making it a good story.
It is the best way to learn.
It really is. Remember, humor is a universal language. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Keep laughing, keep practicing your three sentences, and we will see you next time.